This week on the show, we talk about reducing cannabis taxes, how to get your branding on point, and there are a ton of different names for cannabis, but which one is best? My name is Tim Stromble. Welcome to Rooted. Welcome to the show. You know, in putting this show together week after week, someone pointed out that we always refer to the plant as cannabis on this show. So that got us thinking, why do we do that? There are so many names for the plant. Why do we only use cannabis? Where do these names come from? And what's the best name for the plant? That's what we want to talk about on this week's Two Sides. Or Three Sides? Or I guess how many names we can think of to cover sides. Cue graphic now. First up is marijuana, which comes to us from the Spanish name for the plant and is commonly associated with things like marijuana madness propaganda from the early 20th century when anti-cannabis Americans wanted to use a Spanish-sounding name for the plant to add a foreign feel to their scare tactic campaign. It makes sense. I mean, people fear what they don't know, and introducing a foreign-sounding word would add more fear into the mix if they didn't understand what cannabis was. Marijuana is almost exclusively used, pay attention to this by the way, when talking about cannabis-related crime. In fact, there's been so much movement away from the word marijuana in the industry over the past decade because of its association with the illegal drug trade. And then there's reefer, another Spanish word, this time coming from the word grifo, which is Mexican slang that describes someone under the influence of marijuana because grifo can refer to tangled frizzy hair and therefore a similar mental state. Tangled and frizzy, that's how I get, right? That became grifo, which later became abbreviated as reefer. That's quite a jump. And then how about herb? Born from Rastafarians who use the substance religiously, this term has been used to emphasize that it's natural, like other herbs. With a similar flair, cannabis has been called mother, mother nature, noble weed, and righteous bush, all in Rastafarian culture. I've seen some righteous bush if you know what I mean. Then there's Ganja, which is an easy one as it comes from a Hindi word meaning hemp plant. Doesn't get much easier than that, right? That's simple. I bet you didn't know that the term pot was Spanish too, born from the abbreviated pateguaya. The term chronic is a commonly used one as well, and it's pretty literal, as it's a synonym for extreme or severe and is meant to describe cannabis with strong effects. Perhaps none of these are as simple as the term bud, which literally means the part of the cannabis plant that is smoked. And then there's cannabis. The Oxford English Dictionary traces the earliest use of the word cannabis to 1548, with the meaning that parts of the plant are smoked, chewed, or drunk for their intoxicating or hallucinogenic properties. The etymology is from the New Latin botanical term cannabis, standardized in Carl Linnaeus' 1753 Species Plantarum, from an earlier Latin cannabis coming from the Greek word cannabis with a K. This is probably the most scientific and respected word for the plant and probably why we like to use it on the show so much. I mean, people respect science and fancy sounding names, right? I mean, so you think cannabis may be the best one? I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Herb, reefer, cannabis, marijuana, bud. What's your favorite name for the plant and why do you use it? Hit us up on our Facebook page and comment your thoughts and we'll share the results in a future episode. We'll be right back.